Hello, kitties of the night. I am Creepyman, and today I am going to read you a creepy story. They call it the Alien Hand Syndrome. It all starting during my junior year of college. I'm a party animal, or used to be. I've never missed a party, and you could count on me being at a bar until closing time. This all changed when I became sick with migraine. The doctor said I probably got it when I was playing beer pong and kissed someone. I will never know how I got it, but I do know that my life will never be the same again. The doctor and my parents tell me that I should guaranteed that I am alive, or grateful that I'm alive. They know, or I know they were right, but my life has become a living hell. I felt like sanity was slowly slipping away. I missed most of my spring semester in my junior high while in the hospital and spent the whole spent the following summer recovering at home with my parents. I begged my parents to let me go back to school in the fall. I could still graduate on time with my friends due to a bunch of AP courses from high school. They eventually agreed, so long as I promised to take it easy and tone down the partying. To make them happy, I did not move back into the Franwell house and got a single apartment for myself. I quickly returned to my hard partying way. I could not drink as much as I used to, but I still knew how to have a good time by the third week back in school. However, I began to notice that my left hand seemed to shake so slightly. When I move it, other times I would be holding something, let's say a beer, and my grips when especially loosen. I drop a few full drinks during those few weeks. I chucked it up to the muscle weakens from being bedridden for so long. The tremble in my hands continue increase over the next few weeks, but the weakness of my hand disappeared. I felt like my old self again. This was my last year in college. My last year of college, and I was having a blast. I partied twice as hard to make up for lost times. Everything changed in one Monday morning when I woke up with a terrible hangover. I stumbled through my morning routine, knowing I was late for class. As I stepped out the door, I noticed my left hand still heading to the bar of soap. My hand refuses to release the vice like a grip. So I restored to soaking in hot water. I slipped the bar out of my hand and relaxed immediately. My feeling was uneasy, quickly turned to anxiety. Then I noticed that my senior semester had begun half hour ago. I raced out the door in the hangover endurance stupor and did not think about the morning odd events until the next week. The rest of the school week passed. Eventually, I forced on my schoolwork, and play video games with my Fricklin brother, or my brother. The coming weekend was so to be epic. My friend, my friend had been, I don't know, hadn't been planning an incredible party since the previous school year. We had a large field rented, dozens of kegs, dozens of kegs on order of full expansion at the last half of our small university to attend. The party started out around noon on a Saturday. It would last until we finished all the kegs. The first few hours were great, but then something happened that would begin my descent into hell in a cell. I'm just kidding. A few of my friends and I stood near one of the keg station watching a game of beer pong. Before I knew what was happening, one of my friend's girlfriend turned around and shouted, What the fuck are you doing?" Though roughly confused, I turned my head to look at her and noticed my left hand was firmly planted on her butt. I quickly apologized and tried to move away my hand. My hand wouldn't move. I stepped away and my left hand grabbed onto her belt. I don't know who was more terrified at this point. I looked at my hands, knew it was mine, but I had absolutely no control over it. She began to scream and I attempted to explain that I had no idea what's happening. Her boyfriend, a good friend of mine, ran over and tried to push me off of her. My hand released from her belt, darted forward and closed around his throat. A moan escaped my lips as desperation tried to pry my left hand off his throat. My friend, half-hearted, tried to push me away from him, but it was too late. I guess the shock at having one of your friends try to kill you was too much. I'm a pretty big guy, even after being bedridden and medicated, and it took 3 football players to get me to let go of him. My fingernails dragged into his throat as they pulled his hands off. I cried hysterically while trying to explain that I couldn't control my hands. I remember laying limpy, siren wheeling in the distance, with a group of guys forming a circle around me. If anyone stepped too close, my left hand would attempt to grab the ankles or shoes and pull them down. Understandably, the police threw me in a drunken tank first. Understandably, the police threw me in the drunk tank first. I knew then that something else caused this insanity. But they ignored my pleas. After 24 hours, they came to get me out in my hands to try to pull the gun from the officer's hostels. I frequently tried to explain that I could not control my hand, but the officer's fist smashed into my face, breaking my nose. He then tased me as I lay on the floor, my left hand still gripping at him as the electrical current courses through my body. They placed me in isolation and waiting for their commission office arrive for his shift. 48 hours later, I was sitting in an isolation cell, my left hand hanging limpy at my side, twitching whenever I heard the sound of outside cell. The commission officer eventually arrived and interviewed me through the bars of the cell. At one point, the venters was too close to the bar, and my hand shot out at his face. He informed me, "Thank God, that my friend survived my attack, and would soon be released out of the hospital." I finally had a chance to explain that I had no control over my hand. It was clearly my hand, I told him, but it felt as though someone or something was else controlling it. Its momentum. I only felt numbness, and of course, twitch throughout the arm. Throughout the interview, the commanding officer nodded and took notes and asked questions, but not once did he take his eyes off my hand. The interview lasted for an hour, after which he left the room. He came back a short while later and informed me that I was being transferred into a psychiatric facility and that my parents would be notified. 5 officers put me in handcuffs and tried to gouge out my eyes of the officer who tried to do it. A team of orderlies and nurses with the cyanful were waiting for me in the psychological hospital. I woke the next day bound to a leather straitjacket and locked in the buried room. 2 orderlies soon arrived and led me to the head psychology office. The psychologist asked me a series of questions about my medical history. Before mentally on my bouts of something. He then ran a battery of noxious tests on me. He was the first person since the party to treat me like I was like a normal person, rather than a deranged killer. He wrapped up the tests and he told me that he would need to consume with some college and something before getting back to me. He also told me that I would be able to see my parents soon, if that went well. The next morning, Orlin brought me into the same office. My parents were waiting along with my mother rushed to give me a hug, and I could sense the orderly ready themselves. My straitjacket shifted as my left hand struggled against the leather. My father gave me a small smile and pulled my mother away. When we were all seated, the psychologist dismissed the Orleans and told us that I suffered a alien hand syndrome, which is the rare Necrolarbian disorder, where two of my brain's hemisphere begin to separate. It's an office caused by some sort of brain tumor, which damaged the part of the brain responsible for connecting the both sides of the brain. Person with the alien hand syndrome reports that one of the limbs begin to act on its own, and it often to do things that a person has no control over. Usually that means holding onto or letting go of objects randomly. I have an incredible Scurv's case of disorder. There was no cure, though. Some persons have been able to manage the syndrome by training the hand. The court had ordered that I undergo 3 months of treatment of psychiatric facility, which after which I would be free to return home. It is now 5 months since that meeting with in the treatment failed. I am still unable to control my left hand. The psychiatrical hospital made me modify a straitjacket, which I would wear under my clothes and keep my left hand bound to my side, while allowing my right hand to move freely. My life has been ruined. My university labeled me a threat to each other and expelled me from home, from school. Everyone in my community thinks that I'm a freak. This thing I'm wearing under my clothing is not construction, but if I continue to wear it, because I know I will be dangerous to others without it. I have contemporarily implanted my hand. Maybe then I will rejoin society and lead a normal life. And that is they call it the alien hand syndrome. If you guys like this story and if you want to hear more, please leave a comment down below. And as always, have a nice dreams. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Teal Killer Gaming 1, and thanks for watching my creepy story reading. If you guys like this video, please drop a like, as the creepy man said. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya!